it a whirl. And do you need a pencil? Yeah, because we'll, yeah, so the introduction, I just do this pattern twice, but then I'll just sort of come to a fermata.
Okay.
And you start whenever it sounds right to start. So it's not something where you have to worry about coming in at a certain place. So it'll sound like.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are in vain as sounding brass and hopeless game. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control, our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are free. Thank you. Thank you. It is.
So that'll be the postlude and.
Guide every deed. By this we worship and are. Okay. And are free.
Good morning. How are we doing? Is this on? Yep, good. Lovely to see you all. Come into this place of peace and let its presence soothe your being. Come into this place of vision and let its courage embolden your spirit. Come into this place of shared wisdom, one to the other, as we share and we learn and we enfold and we encounter one another. It's good to be together. Let's sing hymn number 1000 in the teal hymnal. Morning, something about morning. Morning has come. Please rise as you are able in body and or spirit.
See everyone. Welcome to First Parish in Milton. My name's Owen McGonigal, and I'm a member of the worship committee. If you're having trouble hearing me, please raise your hand in the meeting house or message us in chat so we can adjust the sound. I see no hands. We are glad that you have chosen to be here with us this morning or to join us virtually. However your journey, whatever your heritage, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. Your presence here on Sunday morning enriches worship for everyone. This sanctuary is made holy by your presence. If you're joining us for the first time, a special welcome. You will find information about First Parish in your pew. One of the greeters or I would be happy to answer any questions you have. And any of us would welcome the opportunity to walk you to social hour after service for a little bite to eat. The work of living our faith is done both in and out of worship. So I call your attention to the printed announcements that came with your order of worship or found in your email link. There were a few items to note. First Parish is planning an art festival fundraiser on May 3rd. The event will bring together art and high-end crafts in a vibrant and social setting, featuring contributions from professional local artists and floral interpretations of key artworks. The event aims to create an immersive artistic experience. Guests can enjoy live music, wine and cheese, while bidding in both live and silent auctions. And there will also be raffle prizes. And this is a special part. We need a clear and exciting and memorable name for the evening that will encourage people from all over Milton and surrounding communities to join for a wonderful evening. And we're looking for suggestions. There is a flip chart with markers in the Parish Hall. If you're on Zoom or think of something later in the week, send your ideas to the office. And just with the subject, First Parish Art Festival. And share your ideas, please. Also, climate action. There's a 4-week worship, and please look in your order of worship for the dates. And also today, the choir will not be singing this morning. Jeff Stout is stepping in for Grace Allendorf. And thank you, Tim, for improvising today. Okay, now let's take a few minutes to greet one another and extend a warm welcome to old friends and new. For those on Zoom, please turn on your video and go to the gallery view so you can say hello to others zooming in.
Morning, everybody.
Hi, all.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Morning.
Mary.
Still from Sausalito.
Well,
No snow.
Hi, everyone.
Tony, and
Hello.
Tucker, and Tom Kemp.
Hi there.
Hi, everybody. Wow.
Good morning. Yes, I
Good
probably
morning,
could
everyone.
Good morning.
Leslie.
Great
Looks like
concert on
everybody's
Friday
snowed in.
night. Tucker, are you coming back on the 19th? Is that right?
Assuming that the runway is plowed, I guess.
Okay. We missed you.
We're ready.
Phoebe, your songs last night were great. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Who is that?
It's Deb.
Oh, my. Oh, you were there? Wait, last
was.
night?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
Oh,
We
my
came in.
God.
We came in late. It was such a nice show.
Oh, good. Okay. Well,
Hello, Bridget.
I missed seeing you. Sorry.
We got there. Took us a while to get there.
Okay.
We had our cabaret
Okay.
last night for the Quincy Choral.
Please take a moment to make your cell phones silenced. Thank you.
Bye,
Now is the moment we can
Bye,
focus on
everybody.
being here. When
Everyone.
we can choose to connect with ourselves and the divine. When we can choose to just be present. Each Sunday, we light the chalice as a reminder that hope, love, and faith will abide. And please join me in the call to worship. Come, let us gather. We gather to celebrate the sacred within and among us. We come to seek spiritual growth and understanding. We strive to practice acceptance, forgiveness, and love. Together, we work to build a world with justice and compassion. Come, let us gather together.
So, this morning, we're going to be talking in here about an ancient story called the Tower of Babel. And some of that, Babel means, the Hebrew root is confusion, and it's a story about how people of very many different languages and cultures had to figure out how to live after they tried to all be one people. So basically, it's about how do you get along with different kinds of people. And right now, many members here and other people in Milton have started a group that is willing to host immigrants that are on the legal path to have housing or to wait until they can go into a shelter, and some people are hosting. And the thing about that is that when you get the call and say, this is a family that needs a temporary housing until a shelter opens up, they'll say they speak Creole, Spanish, French, a little bit of English. And so suddenly you're like, you may be welcoming somebody in your home with no language between you, that you have to figure out how to live together without really knowing how to communicate the way you usually do through your language. So there are a lot of different languages in here right now, I think, right? Most of us speak English. And what other languages do we have in here that people know? Portuguese. Italian. French. Okay, so I'm going to start with something that's from American Sign Language and see if you know what it is, and then if people could shout out the other languages of it. So this is the sign. Say it again. Manger. Mange, right? You want eat, right? Manja. Tabimasu. Right. But it's just very sort of almost universal here. It's like, oh, yeah, put something in your mouth. What do we usually put? So you say, manger is the Creole, and things like that. So one thing that I thought we would do today to just sort of demonstrate that it is possible to talk to people that it feels like gibberish is I'm offering to do a little gibberish, but Owen will translate. So you need to give us a topic. Snowstorm. Okay. Da muss wat knevstebok on de speedy ladders.
What a snowstorm we had last night.
But last
time I hurt my back shoveling. On my way here today, I almost fell. But then I got to see all these beautiful people.
And why did that work? That worked because we both wanted to understand one another. We both had a desire to come to a place of knowing one another. So that is something that we're all capable of doing far more than we think. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's sing. Children, they're going to do coffee hour for us today. So if you have time, don't miss it. Turn this on. Go into your breath. Feel your body. Give yourselves time to nourish with stillness for a little bit. And let us sing hymn number 391 in the gray hymnal, Voice Still and Small. Feel free to just stay seated and sing to.
And now I'd like to do a reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. The Tower of Babel. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." And Adonai came down to the city and the tower, which the children of man had built. And Adonai said, "Behold, there are one people, and they all have one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language so that they may not understand one another's speech." And so Adonai dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there Adonai confused the language of all the earth. And from there Adonai dispersed them over the face of all the earth.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are in vain. as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control. Our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
The snow is applauding. How cozy was that? So, a Bible reading this morning. Unusual, I know, and one of the many texts we honor as a resource for reaching for meaning. The myth of the Tower of Babel is a well-known tale that has been given many descriptions. A tale of human pride, a tale of humans defying God's will, also a tale of the origin of diverse language and culture. It being a story in the book of Genesis, I choose to lean into the origin story, touching on the mystery of many languages and many cultures. Joseph Campbell, 20th century scholar of mythology and folklore, described myths as metaphors for the spiritual potential of human life, a kind of narrative of the spirit. The Tower of Babel is most commonly thought to represent a ziggurat, which is a pyramid-like stepped structure in ancient Mesopotamia. The story may have been inspired by an unfinished and abandoned ziggurat in Babylon. Babel comes from the Hebrew word meaning, as I said in the Time for All Ages, confusion. You can see in Genesis the origin of Judeo-Christian shame-based ideology. It seems that human discomfort is blamed on human disobedience to the Creator. Death, for example, is blamed on Adam and Eve's disobedience, with the added pain of childbirth specifically given to women for Eve's curiosity. Calamitous floods were God's washing away sinful humanity. And the confusion and alienation of difference in language and culture came from pride and arrogance, wanting to make humanity great, shall we say. These myths are also stories about the folly of trying to control life, to be in charge of destiny, to assume manifest destiny. There's always a measure of hope in these stories as well, that humans can try again, can learn again, can reorient the sense of meaning, and could come to know the gift of life, often seen in a rainbow, for example. What's unfortunate about the shame-based logic is that we can fall into blame and guilt, demonizing and scapegoating. We can avoid accountability because these discomforts, death, pain, isolation, are thought to have happened because of someone else's mistakes, and we carry the burden of their wrong. We humans, at least in Judeo-Christian culture, seem to be very skilled at blaming something or someone else for our difficulties. They are to blame. Just look at how often we sue one another. If something that I don't like happened to me, it must be someone else's fault. Someone else has to pay. Even weather systems are described as having destructive desires towards humans. We can tend to think that we are more important than we are in the scheme of things. So back to the Tower of Babel. The humans propose to build a tower that reaches the heavens, that puts them on an equal status to the gods. The way to do this is to have one people in charge of everything, one way of looking at all things. Now, the wisdom of the cosmos, the glory of infinite diversity and interdependence, says no. The humans have more work to do in deepening understanding of one another and their lives. They cannot yet live in harmony with creation because of their limited imagination and need to control. So scatter them on the earth so they can work harder to understand one another again. People can sometimes set the world up in ways that make it work for them for a while. We're actually witnessing the attempts to do that right now in our country. We can create supposed to be's and demand compliance. We can fill our world with shoulds and insist on only one way, one great way. We can say any other way of being or seeing is against the accepted way, and even enemies to the power of the way of life. Take note of the design of the ziggurat, that less and less people get to be at Heaven's Gate. We can carry on like this sometimes for years, maybe decades, until something doesn't go our way, until something goes terribly wrong. It's then that we realize the false foundation we've created to make sense of the world. That can be a horrible time of wilderness, of deep loss and confusion, of disappointment and a feeling of loss of ground, unable to find balance. Right now, the politics of disruption, blatant dismantling of the rule of law, and mind-numbing exploitation of economic power has ushered in a sense of groundlessness and fear that feeds on chaos. One impulse is to go tribal and create an us and an them. The us is the tower, the them is those who did not get entrance. This is not a sustainable model. It's one we are seeing in grotesque measures these days, with executive orders marginalizing transgender persons, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives being pushed away, immigrants and civil servants who do not profess the growing creed of America First in manifest destiny being demonized. It's a systemic structure that will eventually topple, though we do not know the timing nor the breadth of the damage that will be done. But remember the hope, the wisdom that emerges to transcend these follies. Believe in that wisdom dwelling among us. We are not on this earth to make everything the same, nor to claim it all for ourselves. We all know that, at least most of the time. Unitarian Universalism invites this wisdom. Our faith cherishes curiosity, doubt, exploration, creativity, and newfound truth. We do this because we trust in the universe, in the basic stuff of which we are made, and know that wonder, awe, discovery, and engagement can manifest love of creation, respect for its immeasurable glory, and responsibility towards its gift of being. We can dwell in diversity, indeed welcome diversity, to ever teach us the depths and wonders of creation. We do have some pitfalls within our faith tradition that can trip us up a bit, that have discouraged true diversity in our history. One of the dangers of universalism is to assume one's own identity or way of being as right for everyone. This can lead one toward a vision, for example, of a colorblind society rather than a color-rich society, encouraging passing over diversity, pretending it's not really important, rather than engaging it and being enriched by it. It can lead to the mistake of speaking for others rather than with them, and trivialize differences rather than respect them. This is often in an attempt for unity, but unity of being is beyond our full comprehension, just as the source of all being is beyond any one single naming. Come, be just like us is not authentic welcome. It's controlling our environment, which is not the way of nature. Another pitfall from our Unitarian heritage comes from the emphasis on character as a reasoned stance, as a product of rational analysis, leaning heavily into intellect as the way toward truth. Prejudice, bigotry, or oppression cannot be fully reasoned away or merely intellectually understood. There must be body wisdom, a sense memory of shared being, which can lead to understand the folly of exclusion. The movement toward decentering whiteness, now deemed woke ideology by some, is about listening rather than talking, trying on another one's reality, letting oneself be more curious than right, having courage of the unknown. Reverend Joseph Cherry, a UU minister of Mexican and Polish descent, offers, if we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. Some years ago, I was honored to be a co-presenter in a week-long interfaith exploration of ethics and God imaging at Chautauqua Institute. To introduce this initiative, the facilitator shared ground rules that he learned from Diana Eck's Pluralism Project at Harvard University. Let me summarize these rich reminders. First, pluralism is not diversity alone, but the energetic engagement with diversity. Diversity is a given, but pluralism is not a given. It's an achievement. It takes effort. Second, pluralism is not just tolerance, but the active seeking of understanding across lines of difference. Third, pluralism is not anything but the encounter of commitments. It's not like a anything goes kind of thing. We do not need to leave our identities and our commitments behind. It means holding our deepest differences not in isolation, but in relationship to one another. Fourth, pluralism is based on dialogue. The language of pluralism is that of dialogue and encounter, give and take, criticism and self-criticism. Dialogue means both speaking and listening, and that process reveals both common understandings and real differences. Dialogue does not mean everyone at the table will agree with one another. Pluralism involves the commitment to be at the table and make room for others, to be open and discerning, to be humble and clear, to be daring and loving, bringing the scattered together. In the words of UU Minister Leslie Takahashi Morris, who identifies as multiracial with Japanese-American roots, walk the maze within your heart, guide your steps into its questioning curves. This labyrinth is a puzzle leading you deeper into your own truths. Listen in the twists and turns. Listen in the openness within all searching. Listen. A wisdom within you calls to a wisdom beyond you, and in the dialogue lies peace. Of course, if there's disrespect or violation, then we do not welcome that energy. In order to be welcoming, we have to have a healthy ability to say no. There are times when protection is essential to carry on forward. There are times when leaving a situation behind or turning another direction is called for. But there are far more times than we allow to make way for new perspectives, to welcome new ways of being, and to see the potential of the unknown before us. It begins with our letting go of the dogma we've created in our lives, the one that dictates who we have to be and how we have to live. It does us well to examine from time to time our own fundamentalisms, however they manifest. Releasing this alone will create energies of freedom and avenues of seeing that can enrich the world and usher in justice and peace. Transforming our way of being into a harmony amongst the differences is the sacred work that we are called to do, especially now that is being so terribly dissuaded. One of our newly proclaimed shared values is pluralism in Unitarian Universalism. We are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Sometimes we have to search very hard to find the blessing of being. Sometimes we have to heal brokenness and break through habits of mind to come to that sense of unity. Sometimes we have to let go of ways of being and behaving to come to that sacred knowing. But it's all there in everything if we only look and are willing to see. Thousands of years after the drafting of the Tower of Babel, a passage in the book of Acts in the New Testament was written, describing a magical celebration of the Pentecost, when people from diverse backgrounds suddenly understood, had a sense of universal goodness in their own languages, and could speak from that place of knowing. For Unitarian Universalists, that universal goodness is essential in our faith, a goodness that inspires the humility of pluralism. There is an awful scattering going on right now. It's painful and frightening. Know that that is not the end of the story. It is not the end of the story. Know that this seismic folly cannot be sustained. Keep strong in your knowledge of sacred being. Keep strong in your embrace of one another. Keep strong in your ability to say no when it's counter to life's goodness. What is needed will arise from that wisdom. It will give us a wider learning of the world. So may it be. Amen. Let's sing hymn number 205, Amazing Grace. Please rise as you're able in body and or spirit. Please be seated. Let's join our hearts in a spirit of prayer. Holy essence of life, spirit of love beyond our full knowing, come to our awareness, enter in a way that we can see beyond our fears, our confusions, even our despair. Help us see that strength in one another and bring it out when we feel it strongly. Help us gather with one another, find the solidarity of friendship and honor and seeing and believing in life's preciousness. Let us be bold in our compassion and forgiving in our brokenness, and open our arms in love as much as we can, once solidly known that we too are loved. For all the turmoil in the world, all those who feel abandoned and afraid, let us reach out in love. And for the local prayers, deeply felt but unspoken, let us hold them in love. Amen.
Today's offering will be given to the Stonehouse. Kathy Fagan, interim CEO and COO, will help share with us what the Stonehouse does.
Good morning. It's nice to be back home at First Parish. As an aside, before I tell a little about Stonehouse, I want to tell you that First Parish is what led me to Stonehouse. I literally was at a social hour. I had just, as my husband would say, successed my way out of a job by building cradles to crayons, and was looking for my next adventure. And I started chatting with Brian Kelly, who many of you know, and he's a good connector. He listened to what I wanted to do and the vision that I had, and he said, I have someone I need you to talk with. And I said, great. And he said, I said, give me a phone number. And he said, I don't have to. He's across the hall right here at social hour. It was the great Jim May. Many of you know Jim as well. And I walked over and I said to Jim, you know, I didn't know Jim that well. I mean, I knew him a bit. I knew Mary, his wife. And I said, Brian says I need to talk with you. And I told him a little bit about my background. I was an attorney, and I had worked with cradles and helped some other nonprofits as a consultant. And he said, I've got a project for you. And it was supposed to be a part-time development associate to help finish a capital campaign to build a new stone house. And I was hooked. The mission sounded amazing, and it sounded like something I'd be very happy to do. And then that was in about 2016, and here I am standing before you, interim CEO and COO of Stonehouse. Stonehouse is on paper, a domestic violence agency, but it is so much more. Stonehouse started 50 years ago as a way to help women who were, quote unquote, suffering from mental health challenges. And it became pretty obviously pretty quickly that those mental health challenges had to do with domestic violence and trauma they were experiencing. Stonehouse started in JP, had a location in Roxbury, and then the vision that Jim May and our former CEO, who's since passed, Nancy Hess, was to build a building right in the center, the heart of Roxbury, to help individuals suffering from domestic violence, because it wasn't enough to just do case management. We needed housing. We needed help for the littlest victims of domestic violence, infants and toddlers who are experiencing domestic violence or intimate partner violence within their homes. So that was my start. To tell you a little about the need, right now 1 in 3 women in our country will experience or have experienced domestic or intimate partner violence. And 1 in 4 men, which is also a surprising statistic to some people, also will have or have experienced domestic violence. And domestic violence is a much wider topic than just what you hear on the news. You may hear on the news about somebody who has been murdered by a partner or killed by a girlfriend. You may hear about that, and people think that's domestic violence. It's so much more. It's all about coercive control. And it happens in so many different ways. It could be financial control, it can be sexual abuse, it can be true violence. But the fact that so many people are experiencing it and yet you don't hear so much about it is also interesting, because there's a stigma attached to it for a lot of people in a lot of cultures. Stonehouse right now, they made the decision in 2019 to build a new home. And through a pandemic, because of course, let's do this during a pandemic. We raised enough money to build a $29 million building. We were a scrappy little domestic violence agency with a big heart and a big vision, but with a lot of help from a lot of people, we were able to open a domestic violence center in Roxbury. We have 32 units of permanent supportive affordable housing for domestic violence survivors. We have an early learning center, which is my personal favorite thing in the world, where we welcome 43 little souls every day to work with teachers and counselors who know what it is to have experienced trauma and know what it is for a little one to have trauma in their bodies and need to get that out every day. And we have case management for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every year who need help. Stonehouse's theme is Safe Now, Strong Forever, because what we do is not just provide safety and safety planning. We don't have enough housing for everyone. We have an off-site shelter. We help people into hotels temporarily, but we can't house everyone. So we have to help people where they are. We have to help them with burner phones so that they have a way to call for help. We have to help them with food cards when they are being coerced or controlled by not being given food, or food for their children by their abuser. There's so many different ways that Stonehouse helps. We're one of the only domestic violence centers that actually allow families to stay together in housing, in shelter. Oftentimes when you have an individual who is separated because of abuse, that individual's kids go to other foster homes or shelters. They can't stay with the victim parent. And Stonehouse really feels strongly that we got to try and keep these individuals who are victims themselves with their children. In many cases, it's learning financial rules. Many people haven't been given money or haven't earned money, so they need financial budgeting. Every single day we have somebody, we have many people, frankly, come to Stonehouse who need our help. And we're grateful that First Parish and members of First Parish have helped Stonehouse in the past. We need your help now more than ever. For anyone who's been paying attention, Stonehouse gets half of our money from government contracts right now. We have to raise every year $4 million, and about $2 million comes from government contracts. Over the past couple of weeks, emergency meetings have been held because we've got executive orders that are freezing our funding, freezing our even application for funding. So it's a really, really terrible time. Stonehouse doesn't ask somebody when they come to our door if they are documented. We don't ask people, how they identify. We're here to help anybody who comes to our door. And I'm here because I need your help. Any amount we're grateful for. I'd urge you to learn more about Stonehouse. Just go to stonehouseinc.org. I put some brochures over in the social hour. It has become an all-consuming part of my life, my family's life. Stonehouse is so important, and it's too big to fail. We need to do everything we can to support the people who we are lucky enough to serve. Look at me. It's so important, and I'm grateful for anything that you can do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Today's offering will go to the Stonehouse. As many of you know, twice a month our offering is given to an organization whose work this congregation supports. The effort is spearheaded by our Social and Environmental Justice Committee. It is one of the ways we fulfill our mission of helping to build a just and healthy world. To give, please follow the instructions printed in your order of worship or shown on the Zoom screen. And for those in the meeting house, there are collection plates in the front and the back. So please support and give as generously as you can. And now, Tim will play some music for us. Please join me in the unison dedication. Stand if you are willing or able. May these gifts be transformed into strength for this faith community, into comfort, food, and shelter for those in need. And may we be transformed by generosity.
And as I douse the chalice flame, may the flame and fire of our faith burn deep and wide within us. May we hold on to the blessings of life and of our being and manifest them in our ways and walking. Put them in our hands and in our ways of being with one another. Have a good week. Amen.